Amazon, of course, is in the midst of a union organizing drive that lasts. There is a vote ongoing. It has been going on for over 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. It will continue, I believe, until March 29th. 6,000 union workers in Bessemer, Alabama, or I should say 6,000 Amazon workers in Bessemer, Alabama. There have been enough to come out and say that they want a union for the National Labor Relations Board to say that a vote can take place. The vote is happening now. And Amazon seems to be, and I can't quite tell what the deal is here, frankly. Sometimes you get Twitter accounts that go rogue, or just Twitter accounts that are just not handled very well. But it's not just Amazon news. But let's put this up. Well, let's start with the first one from the actual Amazon. Brendan, wasn't there also an Amazon basically official who decided to take issue with the fact that Bernie Sanders was heading down there?
So then he decided to deem Amazon's workplace as the Bernie Sanders of employers, but not quite right. That's not quite right, because we actually deliver a progressive workplace.
Wait, this is now, you're quoting from Dave Clark.
Yes.
Now, who is Dave Clark? Brendan, will you tell us who Dave Clark is?
He is a husband, father, and also CEO of Amazon WW Consumer.
Worldwide Consumer.
Worldwide Consumer. There you
Yeah,
go.
I don't know exactly what Worldwide Consumer is within Amazon, but
He's also a University of Tennessee MBA supply chain alum.
well, yeah, that was obvious. And here he is. He's, like Emma said, he's welcoming Senator Sanders to Birmingham and appreciate his push for a progressive workplace. And he says, I often say we are the Bernie Sanders of employers, but that's not quite right, because we actually deliver a progressive workplace. Now,
so that's a slight against Bernie Sanders. Well, it was a lie about their workplace conditions, as he pretends to welcome Bernie Sanders to Birmingham as he walks alongside union workers.
This is another strike against the word progressive, because you can call it, like, what does progressive actually mean if it can be deployed like this? It's not to say a unionized workplace, particularly, right? Like,
well, it's also, I mean, I think, the idea that you put like an electronic buzzer around your workers in your warehouse, because if they're dawdling in any way and they're not being as productive as you want them to be in any given literally moment or second, I mean, I think that.
Yeah, and the fact that they are fighting tooth and nail from paying the families of workers that died on their premises, the fact that they tried to skirt COVID regulations very early and fired retaliatorily an organizer in Queens, I believe, or in Long Island, who had been trying to fight for safer conditions at the start of the pandemic. That might not be categorized as a progressive workplace. $25
million they've spent at the very least in Bessemer to keep these people from unionizing. But the real question is, why are they doing that? It's interesting, because if you go back and you listen to our interview with Alec yesterday and read his book, you will find, and you had a great question for him on this, Emma, if I remember correctly. It was the Democratic coalition includes a lot of just general people who really like Amazon. In fact, I think he said that Amazon was considered one of the more trusted institutions by a lot of Democratic voters. So what could be going on here is an attempt by Amazon to find a foil that they think will appeal to some cohort of Democratic voters. Democrats are in power, and basically get some type of pushback. I mean, the idea that they're being somehow victimized by Bernie Sanders or progressive, Democrats or socialists or whatever it is that they want to say by unionization is somehow victimizing them. Giving workers some type of protections is somehow victimizing them. Let's put up the Amazon News.
So they responded to Mark Pocan, who was citing.
Dave Clark Congressman Pocan responded to Dave Clark.
Right. There we go.
And to that comment about, we consider ourselves, we get stuff done. We actually make things more progressive. And Representative Mark Pocan said, paying workers $15 an hour doesn't make you a progressive workplace when you union bust and make workers urinate in bottles. Now, let's take that in three parts. One, their $15 an hour is less. And we heard this from the union organizer who came on the program a couple of weeks ago, is less than other similarly situated jobs in that specific area. A lot of people say Bessemer, Alabama, maybe you're not making that much money. Well, there are other not massive corporations whose CEOs haven't made, I don't know, what is it, $30 billion this year, maybe more. Jeff Bezos. I mean, remember, Jeff Bezos is the guy who said, I don't even know what to do with my money. I may have to fund stuff to go to space just to figure out how to spend this stuff.
Let alone that they fought tooth and nail against raising their minimum wage and had to be shamed publicly by none other than Bernie Sanders with the Stop Bezos Act.
Indeed. And so the $15 an hour that they're paying in Bessemer, Alabama is not even necessarily that competitive. There's only just so many jobs. Keep that back up, Brendan. And so Pocan responds, and he says, the $15 an hour doesn't make you a progressive workplace when you union bust. And I think it's an uncontroversial statement. Spent at least $25 million on trying to bust the union and make workers urinate in water bottles. Now, we heard a story yesterday just that one of these workers had to hide the fact that he was urinated with his forklift at one point. But and so Amazon News comes back with, you don't really believe the peeing in the bottles thing, do you? If that were true, nobody would work for us. The truth is we have over 1 million incredible employees around the world who are proud of what they do and have great wages and health care from day one. Now, of course, one has to wonder, then why would these people be trying to unionize?
Yeah. I mean, apparently they have the best workplace in the world, and nobody in history has ever worked at a place with poor conditions because they needed a job. The fact that we have millions of employees at our massive behemoth of a company that's took advantage of government contracts and basically cut corners with corporate taxes. I mean, that's evidence that we treat our employees who are beholden to us with complete kindness. It's just such backwards thinking.
Well, I mean, the number of reporters who came out and started to show screen grabs of conversations they've had with employees at Amazon, whether it was, via Signal or whether it was texts or whether it was emails saying, I got fired for trying to pee or this and that. And there's actually a wonderful piece by Corey Robin that he wrote, I guess, maybe 20 years ago that was in the Boston Globe, giving the history. But it wasn't until 1998 that there was any type of federal law saying that you have to give workers bathroom breaks. So it's not that, this has been a problem in our workforce, but Amazon is the number 2 employer in the country. And the way that they work their warehouse people is highly problematic. And I think they realize that this unionization sort of genie is out of the bottle. Mm-hmm. They may win or lose in Bessemer, Alabama, but I think they're afraid this is going to spread like wildfire. And so now they're starting to wage a different type of battle here. They're trying to make those people who are looking for decent working conditions in Amazon, make people who are aware of the problem of Amazon's size and monopoly. And it's not just the implications for consumers, but other competitors, what it does to our society writ large. Again, listen to what Alec McGillis had to tell us yesterday. I mean, it really explains, I think, really the problem with a behemoth this size.
But Amazon News is reporting that they don't actually pee in bottles. So I don't know who to believe, the reporters and the thousands of workers reporting awful conditions, or this PR Twitter account that calls itself news in order to deflect. I don't know.
I mean, that they call themselves news. Maybe sometimes
they have a blue check.
There you go. We will be talking more about Amazon in the weeks to come. I would imagine, probably the months, probably the years, and we will see. But I should also say that the incoming Labor Secretary Marty Walsh gave a shout out in an interview to supporting the unionization efforts of people in Alabama, and there's, as far as I know, there's only one unionization effort that's going on right now in Alabama. He didn't say Amazon specifically, but I think this has got Amazon worried because this type of shout out, of course, it echoes what President Biden said, but hopefully we get a labor secretary who is going to, that is going to be basically that signals where the labor secretary is going to be on these issues going forward.